What's up guys, it's Sebi here with Investing and Stuff, and today I wanted to do a quick guide for those of you that are really new to the stock market, for those of you that have not really invested before and maybe just recently heard about the stock market, so that by the end of the video you at least know the bare minimum of what you need to know to get around and maybe even start investing today if that's what you want to do. Let's check it out. Now, for those of you that already are familiar with the stock market, I'll actually link the main sections in the description of this video so that if you're searching for something specific, you may be able to find it in the description of the video. And for those of you that are really new, just get relaxed, grab a bite to eat or whatever, and let's just jump right into it. Now, the stock market has been around for centuries and it's a vehicle that has made millionaires or even billionaires over time. Most of the people that have accumulated wealth from the stock market have not done that within a couple of days or even weeks or even months. Most of the people that got rich from the stock market invested consistently for years, sometimes even decades. Now, the stock market is basically a market where you can buy or sell shares of publicly traded companies. So basically what that means is that you yourself can be a very small shareholder of Apple or of Tesla or whatever by buying a share from someone else that already has a share from Tesla. Now, one of the first things that you need to know about the stock market is that it is highly volatile. So what that means is that you can lose or you can be down on your money for a certain period of time. Occasionally, in certain cases, you might even be down on your money for good. Now, I don't mean to scare you, have no worry. The richest people in the world have a lot of money in the stock market, so they know what they're doing. On average, within the last century, the stock market has returned about 7 or 8% adjusted for inflation. But that doesn't mean that it's always up 7 or 8% each year. Some years it may be 30%, some years it might be minus 10%. And there's a variety of outcomes that can happen. Now, with regards to the companies themselves, we can basically split up companies into two parts. Private companies and publicly traded companies. Now, from private companies, unless you got a lot of money, you really cannot buy shares. So that's why for most of us retail investors, as we're called, because we're not professionals, we have the stock market where we can trade publicly traded companies. Now, the shares fluctuate in price, usually in relation to how well the company is doing, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it can also be hype. Sometimes it can also be a board on Reddit that all decide to buy the stock and then the price goes up a lot. So one of the first things which you will learn in the stock market is that no one knows for sure what the price of a certain share is going to be tomorrow or the next week. You might have a guess, but you cannot be 100% certain. Now, another important thing to mention here is that you should probably like this video. Seriously, if you're getting value, please smash the thumbs up. It really helps me out a lot and also helps with the YouTube algorithm. So thank you so much for doing that. Now, one important thing to repeat here is that most companies become public through a process called an IPO, which is an initial public offering, or sometimes nowadays via a SPAC, which is a special purpose acquisition company. Now, when a company does go public via an IPO or a SPAC, they raise money by basically letting some of their shares out into the market so that you and I can become shareholders. Usually for most companies, if their stock price becomes a lot higher, while that's a good thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that they automatically have more money. They might choose to sell more of their stock at a higher price to raise more money, but most of the companies don't actually do that. And with that being said, let's just move on to the next topic, which is how you actually buy those shares. Now, the way that you purchase shares in publicly traded companies is via a broker. Now, a broker is basically a financial institution which is an intermediary between you and the public market. So basically via a broker's website or a broker's application, you can buy or sell publicly traded shares. The broker in pretty much all of the cases does not actually own those shares. You own those shares. However, there are a few exceptions. You might need to check the legislation for whichever broker you're using. Some of the brokers actually purchase shares on behalf of you. That's still pretty okay, so usually there's no reason to panic. Now, the way that you may make money in the stock market is by buying a share at a lower price and then someday selling it for a higher price. So say you're buying a share of Apple today at $140 And if in 5 years that share of Apple is going to be $200, then basically you made $60 worth of profit. Now, if you bought 10 shares, basically you would have made $600 worth of profit. Now, another way that you can earn money from the stock market is via dividends. Dividends are a thing that usually mature companies, that usually established companies decide to pay out to their shareholders to kind of, let's say, reward them for being a shareholder. Now, usually you'll find dividends in more established companies, like I said, because smaller companies don't usually have the luxury to pay you dividends. Now, the dividend percentage really depends a lot on the company. You may find a 1% yield, you may find an 8% yield. Most of the times those are paid quarterly. A couple of companies pay them monthly or only twice a year. But just know that the amount of dividends that's paid is different from company to company. Many companies don't pay out a dividend at all. And also an important thing to mention here is that the dividend percentage yield is not always the best thing to go for. Because sometimes you may have a company that pays out a huge dividend, maybe let's say 8% every year. However, that company's share may be going down in price. So if its share went down in price by 5% and it pays out an 8% dividend yield, then you only made 3% that year, and you may have been better off buying a company that pays no dividend, but it went up 10% that year. Now, another pretty fundamental thing which you need to be aware of, in my opinion, is the difference between trading and investing. Now, to some people, this is just a semantic thing, but basically the main difference here is that if you're investing, you're usually investing decent amounts of money over a couple of years or sometimes even decades with the purpose of accumulating some wealth over time. And when you're trading, you're basically trying to purchase a stock or using options or whatever to try to get a decent amount of profit within a few days or sometimes a few weeks. But basically the main difference is that while trading can give you a much higher profit, it's also way riskier. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. I do indulge a bit in trading. I may use like 1% of my entire capital for more speculative stuff, but usually most of my money is invested in long-term assets that in my opinion have a good chance to grow consistently over time. Okay, and the next thing which we're going to discuss is ETFs or exchange traded funds versus individual stocks. Now, individual stocks, we already talked a bit about them. It's basically if you own shares of, let's say, Apple, Tesla, or whatever company you want. Now, ETFs or exchange traded funds are basically a way for you to own a basket of stocks so that you can be properly diversified. Now, some of the most popular ETFs which you're going to hear about are probably the S&P 500, which is basically US's largest 500 companies, or the Nasdaq 100, which is mostly made up of US's tech companies. Now, what you need to know is that ETFs are generally considered a bit safer than individual stocks, simply because, like I said, because you are owning a basket of stocks, there's just a less likelihood that all of them are going to go down a lot or all of them are going to fail. Whereas if you only have one company or two companies and one of them goes down, then basically you're probably down a lot. Also, another advantage of ETFs is that you don't need to know a lot about the stock market to get started. You can actually just buy one share of an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. So for instance, in USA, that may be SPY. Or for instance, in Europe, you may choose something from the German stock market. They have several products that track the S&P 500, but basically one key aspect to note here is that even ETFs are not a bulletproof option. And another aspect to mention here is that with individual stocks, like I said, they are riskier than having an ETF. However, there is the potential for higher returns. So for instance, if you had bought Tesla just 1 or 2 years ago, by this point, you probably 10x your money or something like that, which would probably never happen with an ETF. However, you have to understand that what happened with Tesla is really something unusual, and that's probably the reason why you, even if you're not in the stock market, might have heard about it. Most of the stocks don't actually go 10x within 1 or 2 years. On average, the stocks are in line with the market, so you may be seeing 10%, 15%, 20% returns. But you know, it depends a lot from stock to stock. Now, the next aspect which we're going to talk about is how to analyze individual stocks. So, what you need to know is that depending on the company, companies usually fall within a spectrum from value companies to growth companies. Now, the reason why I said that it's a spectrum is that this is not a hard line. A company is not always a growth company or a value company. For instance, Microsoft may be considered by some people a growth company because it's still growing more than 10% per year. It's a tech company and all of that good stuff. However, for some people, Microsoft is actually considered a value company because by most standards, they are not really that overvalued. And also they do earn massive profits. They actually even pay out a small dividend and many other factors. Now, common examples of value stocks may be Johnson & Johnson, PepsiCo, Walmart, Home Depot, and stuff like that. And traditionally, the stock market has been more centered around these types of stocks up until the recent years. Now, whenever you want to analyze a value stock like this, basically you need to look at a couple of factors. Probably the most important metric which you need to look at is the PE ratio. Some people also call this the multiple. Now, PE ratio is basically what says how expensive a company is, and investors are usually willing to pay a higher PE ratio for a company that's expected to be growing faster in the future. For instance, at the time of me recording this, JP Morgan is trading around a 15 PE ratio. At the same time, Tesla is trading at over 1000 PE ratio. So what this means is that at least currently, Tesla is way more overvalued. Now it doesn't mean that Tesla will not grow into its valuation within the years to come. It just means that if we only take a look at the earnings for the past year, then definitely Tesla is way more overvalued than JP Morgan. The way that you can find this out is by simply doing a Google search for your favorite company and just typing in, let's say, Tesla and then stock, and Google will actually show you the quick facts right away. And since we're on this topic, another really important thing which you should know about is the market cap. Now, a common misconception for people that are completely new to the stock market is that the share price of a company dictates how expensive that company is, and that's really not the case. You can have a company whose share price is only $20, but it's still way more expensive than a company whose share price is $2,000. And the reason for this is that the company that's trading at $20 a share might simply have way more shares in the market than the company that's only trading at $2,000 a share. So really what you want to look at to see the valuation of the company is the market cap. Now, by the way, if you guys want to see more of my content in the future, how I analyze stocks and what types of stocks do I buy, consider subscribing to the channel so you'll be notified when I post again. Another thing to mention here is that not all of the companies are currently profitable. So sometimes, especially in the software sector, for instance, many companies choose to actually reinvest their profits into their company. So what that simply means is that they're really running at a loss for several years, sometimes before actually turning a profit. And you shouldn't really discount those companies. They're just using a different business model altogether. Many of your favorite companies actually started out unprofitable for several years. And those companies are usually the growth companies. So you cannot really analyze them the same way that you would analyze a value company like JP Morgan. For instance, Tesla is more of a growth company. So yes, it is trading at more than 1000 PE, which is huge. But the thing is, profit is currently not their biggest priority. So some of the metrics which you can look at whenever you're looking at a company that's not profitable or that's really growing very, very fast and profit is not their main goal yet, is to look at their price to sales ratio. Basically, you can find that on Yahoo Finance or on Morningstar or on several dozens other different websites for free. And another thing which you might want to look at is their user growth. So depending on the product, you may want to see, okay, they're not turning a profit yet, but really how many users do they have, you know? So if it's a new, let's say, social media app, how many users are using it as opposed to 1 year ago? Another thing which you look at is also the company story. So obviously this is going to be different depending on the company. Now, if you want to see an example of me analyzing a growth company, you can check out the video which I did just a few days ago about CrowdStrike, which is basically a leading cybersecurity company. I'll put the link in the description down below. And with that being said, I'll move on to the last section, which is what should you do now if you want to start investing? Now, the first thing that you would need to do is to open up a brokerage account. Now, depending on your country, you may have several options. For instance, in the United States, several popular options may include TD Ameritrade, Schwab, Webull, maybe even Robinhood, but you know, they had this recent backlash with the whole GameStop thing. However, if you're somewhere else, you may not have those same options. So for instance, if you're in Europe, I made a video which I'll leave in the description down below. If you're somewhere else other than the United States or Europe, you probably might want to use Interactive Brokers if it's available in your country. That's also a really solid broker as well. And actually that may be a decent choice even if you're from the United States as well. So basically what you would need to do, in my opinion, is to stick to one strategy, to one consistent strategy. You may choose to deposit a fixed amount each month and dollar cost average over time. For instance, you may decide that each month you're depositing $200. I would advise you to even set up an auto payment so that whenever you're getting paid, automatically, let's say $200 or whatever you choose, gets sent to your brokerage account. And yeah, with regards to what you should invest in, we already talked about. You might want to pick some ETFs just to get some exposure to the market. If you're interested to learn more about individual stocks, we already discussed a bit. You can also check out my other content from this channel to see more about individual stocks. And not to ruin Santa Claus here again, but the thing is, like I mentioned in the beginning, you most likely are not going to get very, very rich overnight, even in the stock market. However, it is a great vehicle if you want to get rich over time. With that being said, thank you guys so much for following along with me. If you know someone that could benefit from watching this video as well, please consider sharing the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.